Hey everyone! So today I thought I'd answer a very interesting question, which is, does where you go to college matter for your grad school applications? In other words, when readers in these admission committees are evaluating applicants, does the applicant's college factor into their choice on whether or not to admit this student? And that's a very interesting question, so let's talk about it. Now, if you asked me this question a couple years ago, I probably would have said, no, it shouldn't matter where students go to college when they're applying for grad school. I personally have seen great talent come from all sorts of places. Some incredibly brilliant students who have come from schools that are relatively unknown. So I think great talent can come from pretty much anywhere. It's a matter of how driven the person is. So that's my thinking, and I believe it's true. However, if we were going to answer this question practically, if you were a reader in one of these committees and you're judging applications, it's probably likely that they will care a little bit where the student went to college. And is it fair? Well, not always, because students just come from all different sorts of backgrounds. However, if you think about it, there are many schools out there in the United States and even the world, and it's very unlikely that readers will know all of these schools and the strength of their curriculums. And so sometimes these readers will come across cases where they'll compare students, and they might have one student who went to a well-known school like MIT versus another school that is not well known, that they've never heard of, with similar GPAs, and they might favor the student that went to a school that they know well. And really, it is reasonable for them to make an assumption because different schools do have different curriculums. Some are stronger than others. And it's not always perfect because there are schools out there that maybe aren't as well known with fantastic curriculums and very great students. And sometimes grad schools, they just don't know about it. And in other cases, you might have students who came from schools with weaker curriculums, but they're really great self-learners, and so they're perfectly qualified for attending the grad school. And these students can get overlooked as well. And so it's a very difficult problem, and there's probably no easy way to solve it. So let's get to the next important question. Let's say I don't go to a very well-known college and I want to get into grad school. Is there hope? And what can I do to improve my chances of getting into the grad school that I want? So to answer the question, is there hope? Absolutely. When I was an undergrad at UC Berkeley, I was taking a bunch of grad level classes during my senior year in college. And while I was taking these grad level classes, I met a lot of the Berkeley EECS PhD students. And all these students were insanely smart. And Berkeley EECS is a top tier program in electrical engineering and computer science. And these PhD students, not all of them came from super well-known schools. In other words, if you had to ask me, what are the top engineering programs, the premier engineering programs for college in the world, their schools would not necessarily pop up in my mind immediately. So the answer is, yes, there is hope. So the next question is, let's say that your school is not particularly well-known and you're concerned about applying for grad school. What are some things that you can do to help yourself stand out? Now, first of all, you should do the best you can in your school with your curriculum, but here are some of my other thoughts and tips. Now, the first point I want to make is this. Just because a school is not super well known, it doesn't necessarily mean that the professors aren't well known. In fact, depending on the field, sometimes you have incredibly famous professors who work at schools that are not super well-known brand name schools. However, if you're applying to some of these other programs, all these professors, they're all networked with one another. So professors at all these different institutions, they know which colleges or which institutions are strong at which particular fields. And so even if you go to a college that as a whole is not a particularly well-known school, the professors might still be very well known. And if you take a class or do research with these professors, that gives you a lot of help when it comes to getting noticed by these grad programs, because the grad admissions are composed largely of professors. And these professors, if they know their colleague is vouching for this particular student, they're very confident that this professor's recommendation is good. So if you are seeking out research opportunities in your college, it will be very helpful if you found out what labs, what professors are very accomplished in their field that you want to learn from, and try and seek out opportunities to work with these professors. So if you had a recommendation from one of these professors, it certainly looks very good for your apps. So the second question people may be asking is, well, what if my school doesn't have that many professors who are doing research? There aren't that many opportunities. What should I do to stand out? And so another solution is you can look outside of your institution, outside of your college, to see if there are other colleges offering undergrad research programs, or maybe some sort of a student exchange program where you can travel to this other institution and work for a professor. And there are a lot of very well-known institutions that have these undergrad research programs that are happy to receive students from schools outside, like students from schools outside of their own. For instance, I remember Caltech had this SURF program. It's an undergrad research program, and other schools have it as well. And so if you're very interested in doing research and you want to branch out of your school, that's also a great opportunity, because let's say your school itself is not very well known for strong programs. If you worked for a professor at another institution that is very well known and the professor is very well known, their recommendation will certainly help bring confidence to readers looking at your applications for admitting into grad school. And it doesn't necessarily have to be an academic research opportunity that you're applying for. Ideally, you want to find research opportunities if you're doing, say, a PhD. But if you just want to prove your problem-solving skills, another way to bring confidence for these readers looking at your application is for you to find an internship at another well-known company and do very well and have the supervisor write a recommendation explaining what a great problem solver you are. And so yes, grad school apps can be challenging. Students come from a variety of different backgrounds. They come from a variety of different places, but I believe talent can come from anywhere. Anyway, I hope that was very helpful. This was kind of answering a question that people had, and there's probably more that can be said, but I'll keep this video short. So hope you enjoy, and good luck.